We've been taking a look at the rise of the Third Reich and where it comes from. And mainly what I've been trying to argue is that it didn't just come out of nowhere. There wasn't just just kind of this happenstance or this random element that happened. It was actually as a response to a lot of the socioeconomic conditions that were taking place in the 1930s in Germany and some of the conditions put upon them by the Versailles Treaty. And as we think about this, right, as we think about this as more of a cause and effect relationship rather than something random or something that just, that we don't understand where it came from, it's a lot easier to understand conditions in which things like this can happen again. And so it's important to kind of take a look at what those cause and effect relationships are and to find those connections in order to learn from them so we can move on. And we've been taking a look at how the Third Reich used Jewish people to blame them for their current social and economic struggles that they've been going through. And then they launched a massive campaign to feed and to fuel that anger. Today, I wanted to take a look at National Socialist art, or what is known as Nazi art. Hitler enlisted his Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, to create hatred and animosity towards Jewish people, but also on the other side, to create a messaging system for the Nazi Party, to create what art should look like, to create this propaganda in order to create a certain brand for Germans. And just as we think about this, just before we go forward, and I show you some art, and we're not going to spend too much time on this because there's not really a lot of depth or complexity to the art that's there. I want you to speculate. What do you think Nazi art will look like, right? As we take a look at modern art and and elements of propaganda, right? How do you think Nazi art is going to look, right? And so, as Joseph Goebbels was pushing this messaging, he would enlist, many exhibits that each of them have like over 1,000 works throughout the country in order to promote this messaging. And I wanted to take a look at some of these works. Just briefly here. And it's kind of interesting. As many of you know, Hitler was a failed artist. He didn't get into the art school that he was hoping for. And many people, many historians kind of look back and speculate maybe if he did get into an art school, we could have not went through the Holocaust. And so maybe there's some truth to that. But he saw himself as an artist and he had a great deal of animosity towards modern art. He felt that art should be traditional. It should follow some type of rigorous rules of traditional aesthetics, and so this is what he's going to be pushing for within his art. And this one's kind of interesting. This one's portraying Hitler, and we've taken a look at another dictatorship with Stalin and how Stalin was portrayed within the Soviet Union. Now we can take a look at Hitler and how Hitler is portraying himself via his the art that he's promoting. This is the Hitler as the hero, and it's kind of interesting that this one, the title of this one is "In the Beginning Was the Word," right? And so it's taking a message from the first chapter of John, where it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God," and it applies it to Hitler. Right. And so it's making this connection that he is speaking, he is an orator, he is creating this idea, the ideology. He's resurrecting the beliefs, the traditional beliefs of old, and bringing them into the modern world. But it also almost deifies him to a certain extent, right? Almost as though he is God, or maybe he's not God, but he is in line with God. He's kind of in connection, and he's bringing that word to the people. And so it makes it more of a religious message, what he's doing, and it makes what he's doing more of a religious crusade. We can kind of see more of that kind of crusade here with the standard bearer, where Hitler is on this horse, right, showing his chivalry. Kind of, he looks like Charlemagne or some knight from the Middle Ages, holding the Nazi flag in his hand, and he's kind of going forth to bring his word and to stand against the tide of modernism, right? So he kind of feels as though he is on the front lines, and he's the one that's going to preserve the traditions, the values of the past, and not allow the modern world to change him or modern art to change him or the values that he considers. And he considers anything modern to be Jewish, right? He's arguing that Jewish people are bringing modern values and of decadence and decay and mayhem and all of the values that he sees within the art world, and a lot of these, these values that we've been kind of taking a look at, and he sees this all as part of a larger conspiracy of the Jewish people to completely undermine Western civilization. And so art is another way that he believes that Jews are uh, undermining the West. And so he's kind of on the forefront, and he's defending the world against this. Mainly what we see within his art is a representation of Nordic racial superiority. And so you're going to see whites that are going to be working together, showing their strength, showing their determination, their grit. And so he sees any other race is going to be, we've talked about the eugenics, we talked about social Darwinism, how the Nazis viewed the Aryan race to be superior, and so he's going to show how the superiority of this mindset. And other elements that we see within a lot of the Nazi art is going to be glorifying the common person, right? Here we see the worker inside what appears to be a coal mine, or the farmer here that has the cow, or we see here with the soldiers, right? So again, focusing on, as it says here, the workers, the peasants, and the soldiers, the people that are going to be the bedrock of civilization. And so suggesting that these are going to be the kind of the backbone of the Nazi party, of the Third Reich. Taking a look at these, this is we've talked about Soviet art before, and now we're taking a look at Nazi art. And so I just want you to kind of stop the film just here, just do a compare and contrast between Soviet art and Nazi art, right? What do you see similar? What do you see different within them? And the same thing here, right? If we say take a look at Soviet art versus Nazi art, what are some similarities and what are some differences? And as we think about the similarities, just one step further, right? If you want to go one step further and really think about critical thinking, then we have to start, making some assumptions. Why are these similarities there, right? Why do they exist, right? These two very different societies, two very different economic, two very different political systems, but yet their art looks very similar, right? So then we have to start making connections on why do you think those similarities exist. And so this pretty much sums up Nazi art. There's not really a whole lot to take a look at, and a lot of it's very similar. It's about standardization. It's about doing things the same. It's not about individuality. It's mainly about conveying a message, right? So again, some thoughts to think about as we think about Soviet versus Nazi art is how do these lean towards more propaganda rather than art, right? And what makes this more propagandistic as we think about what is the narrative and who controls the narrative? What makes this more propagandistic? We're going to take a look at the final lecture that we're going to take a look at for the Third Reich. It's going to be what Hitler considered to be degenerate art, which is going to be anything that is modern. We'll take a look at that next.